There you go, a bit of Caro Emerald with you and that man. You're listening to Dr. Phil's Saturday Surgery. We're doing our health hour. We've been talking about pain management. We're moving now on to seasonal affective disorder and the use of hypnotherapy with my next guest, Sarah Mortimer. Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
Now, interestingly, when you were listening to Jane and Rebecca speak, you were talking about the own pain that you used to suffer, and that's what turned you towards hypnotherapy, is that right?
That's right, yes. I was suffering with chronic pain. I actually had it for 5 years. And
what sort of pain did you have?
Lower back pain. I also had sciatica as well, going down the legs.
All the time?
It was, yes.
What, night as well? Wake you up at night?
It did, yes. It had a big effect on my life.
I'm sure it did.
And including my job as well. So I decided to have a think about what I wanted to do, change career perhaps.
What were you doing at that time?
I was actually doing complementary therapy, so I was already kind of working with kind of health anyway, which is one of my my main interests. So I decided to have a rethink. Hypnotherapy is one of the things that I thought about doing, so I thought I'd better go and have some hypnotherapy and try it out for myself, and that's what I went to see someone for the pain management, and it was so effective.
How does it work? How does hypnotherapy cure something like chronic pain?
It just helps to change our perceptions. So basically, if we're thinking negatively, we're worrying about all the bad things that are going to happen, or I'm going to have pain for the rest of my life, or I can't get to sleep and because it's going to be painful, it's going to wake me up. By thinking it in that negative way, it just adds an extra level of stress onto the situation. So we're just going to make the situation worse, really. So the hypnotherapy helps to change our perception about things, makes us more focused, more positive about our situation, and obviously start to think about how we want things to be rather than...
And it can work even in something that really just grinds you down like chronic pain. It can make you positive in those sort of terrible circumstances.
Yes, that's right. I mean, it did with me. It was amazing how much better I felt about myself and my prospects as well about the future. And because it's relaxing, it's helping to relax those muscles, and obviously it helps to produce the chemicals which are natural pain relievers as well. From
so sort your mind out, and it can help sort out the body.
That's
right. Basically
yes.
The bottom line. OK, well, we're going to be back with Sarah shortly. We're just going to go to Ollie first and take a bit of travel. There you go. You're listening to BBC Radio Bristol. Lots of campaigns going on at the moment, which is great. I think the public are standing up for themselves, which is nice to see. Now, we were talking about hypnotherapy with hypnotherapist Sarah Mortimer, who was talking about how she came to it because it helped her own chronic back pain. But we're going to move on to talk about seasonal affective disorder, which presumably you're seeing more and more of.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's treated in a very similar way to depression, and as the dark nights are coming in, the clock's going back tonight, of course more people are going to start trickling through the door, suffering with the same symptoms. So what is it from your perspective, from a hypnotherapist's perspective, about the nights drawing in that makes people feel a bit low? Why do you think it happens? I think obviously there is a kind of a chemical imbalance there. With the lack of light, we often have less light coming in, so we've got the melatonin being produced more, and the serotonin production starts to go down, so we obviously sleep more, our mood is affected, and of course it has a knock-on effect to all areas of our lives, and so people are going to start seeking help, wanting to come and find another alternative. And I think often when we get to this dark time of year, we think, oh God, it's going to be cold, it's going to be dark, I'm going to have to go to work in the dark, and we get into a negative frame of mind, and we also think about how we were last year, and we get into that pattern of it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy, but also almost like, I'm going to feel that same way again. Yes, if you expect to feel low, you do feel low. The power of suggestion and auto-suggestion is very, very strong. Exactly. So obviously the hypnotherapy helps to change that perception. So again, we're thinking about how we want the season to be rather than how we don't want it to be. So getting people more positive in their way of thinking and looking forward to the good things of the season. Do you think some people are just naturally, they're born glass half empty, and they're going to find it miserable, and they're not going to, appreciate the beauty of the splendour of the leaves at Weston Burt or just in their local park? I think we all have the ability to have that positive thinking. I think the negative thinking comes in, like you say, the glass half empty comes in later on in life. Various things happen, and we often end up being in that negative frame of mind, and I think it is easy to change, but it just takes repetition. Like all things, it's a new skill that we're learning, and positive thinking is a new skill, so it's just about hitting it, whereas the hypnotherapy is effective because we can access that subconscious mind, and we can make it a lot more effective to get them to change their way of thinking in a lot quicker time, really. So what do you do? Somebody comes to you and says, I get really low and down every time November kicks in and the clocks have gone back. What sort of symptoms are they
saying that they have when they come and see you?
Often people are suffering with, obviously, low mood, sleep disturbances, so most people are tending to sleep a lot more.
To hibernate.
That's right, yes. Often they start eating more, so they're craving high-fat, high-calorie foods.
What's that? Is that an evolutionary thing, do you think? I mean, in the old years and years ago, there was often a sparsity of food in the winter months, so people used to climb up, and now obviously you just have to go to the fridge.
Yeah, exactly. I think also with that is when we feel anxious, we produce cortisol and other stress hormones in the brain, and it makes us want to eat high energy food so we can run away from the danger. But of course, in our day and age, we don't have those dangers anymore. It's just, the fact that it's getting darker or it's getting colder, and our brain hasn't really caught up with that fact, really, but it still does that mechanism.
And I guess if you overlay that with what's happening globally and people worried about their job and the economic future, I mean, all those sort of uncertainties and anxieties are all sort of snowballing, aren't they?
That's right. If you have already a level of stress already, then the dark nights come in. It could also almost be the last straw, and just another extra thing that you've got to cope with, really. So
okay, so you see this bundle of nerves and anxiety and low mood, and how do you unpick this? How do you help them?
Well, clients come and they have an initial consultation with me. Obviously, they explain about how they want things to change. I explain about how anxiety works, how we create depression. Obviously, tailor it towards what they're experiencing, their symptoms, and the way we can work forwards. They obviously have an ideal way that they want hypnotherapy to help them, and we work with that. So within the hypnotherapy sessions, I use a combination of solution-focused techniques, which is getting them to focus on what they want from life rather than what they don't want, and helping them to set goals about what they might want to do over the seasonal period. And then we use hypnosis, which helps to relax them in the first instance, but also we can use suggestions which help them to move forward in their life, think more positively, and we can reframe those thoughts that they have about the negative aspects of winter.
So when you talk about hypnosis, some people who aren't aware of how hypnosis is used in a clinical context, what does that involve? How do you actually use hypnosis in a clinical setting?
I mean, hypnosis basically makes use of a trance-like state, so it's just a relaxed state, basically, and our brain goes into these relaxed states many times a day, really. When you're driving the car and you've gone past a few junctions and you've forgot about it, we would have been in a trance at that state, and that's the kind of trance state that we want to make use of in the hypnosis sessions. And the way that I help my clients get into that state is by using guided visualization, relaxation techniques, getting into that nice relaxed state, and then at that point we can use suggestions, metaphors, just to kind of help with changing those thought processes.
It is interesting, isn't it, that the natural default state of the human mind is often daydreaming. We spend most of our time daydreaming.
Of course.
Even rationalists like Richard Dawkins spends most of his time daydreaming, which I think is great. It's a great thought. Okay, we're going to have a little bit more chat with Sarah Mortimer after we've had a little bit of Gypsy Fireflies. We've been talking about seasonal affective disorder with Sarah Mortimer, who's a clinical hypnotherapist. Other things people do when they get a bit low in the winter months, some people take vitamin D supplements, because obviously there's less sunlight. Is that something you subscribe to?
I have in the past, yeah, actually. I think it's worth doing as much as you can to ensure that you're not going to have those kind of symptoms. So being prepared, really, for the winter months.
And what about artificial light boxes? Do some of your clients use those as well?
I have heard of people using them. I think there seems to be a variety of results as a result of using them, but it's, again, another thing worth a try, isn't it?
Now, generally, hypnotherapy is becoming more widely advocated. The Royal Society of Medicine were advocating the other day.
That's right.
But it does involve reasonably long consultations and having a good relationship with a therapist.
That's right.
Things that we've traditionally not been very good at in the NHS. We tend to give people little boxes of consultations for 5 or 6 minutes and then they keep seeing different people. But have you found that there are actually definite benefits from hypnotherapy? You've seen patients turn their lives around?
Yes, and it's very effective and in quite a short period of time as well. A lot of clients come to see me kind of 8 to 12 sessions, and they've notice immediate results even after just the first initial consultation. Like you say, within the NHS you get 5 to 8 minutes to talk to your clients. I have a whole hour of an initial consultation where my client gets to talk about their issues and why they want to change, and I think that's a real important key thing.
If somebody's listening to this and they're thinking of trying hypnotherapist, how do you find someone who's qualified and has a good track record as opposed to someone who's maybe just done a weekend course and is giving it a go?
There are a variety of ways there's lots of associations that you can check their websites. They all have a list of hypnotherapists that are associated with them that have the relevant qualifications and insurance.
So what would be one to look at?
I'm a member of the National Council of Hypnotherapists, and also the newly formed Association for Solution-Focused Hypnotherapists, and they both have databases on there of local hypnotherapists that you can try.
And are most people now working towards solutions? It's more solution-focused rather than...
It is. It seems to be the way forward, really, because, again, it's not focusing on the problem and...
Just tell us where you want to be and what you want.
Exactly,
and we'll try and get you there.
That's right.
Well, it's absolutely delightful having you on, Sarah, and thank you for joining us. Come and see us again soon.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, Sarah Mortimer there, who's a clinical hypnotherapist. You work on the Gloucester Road, is that right?
That's right, yes, like the healing rooms.
OK, that's enough plugging.
Thanks.